Executive dysfunction and your ERISA disability insurance claim. Executive dysfunction is a range of cognitive, behavioral, and emotional difficulties that can occur because of a traumatic brain injury or a medical condition such as fibromyalgia, MECF, and even Parkinson's disease. Difficulties with planning, problem solving, organization, and time management can make you eligible for a short and long-term disability benefit claim if you've got a disability policy. You may have signed up for one through your employer, most likely covered by a federal statute known as ERISA, or you may have signed up for a disability policy on your own through an agent known as an individual disability policy. It doesn't matter, in my view, what type of policy you have. If you are having problems with executive dysfunction, you may be eligible for your short and long-term disability benefits. But I will tell you that disability carriers and plans just don't understand claims of executive dysfunction. They think that you're making things up, that it's all in your head, that perhaps it's psychological in nature. I know that you may be struggling with organizing your work, setting schedules, sticking to tasks, regulating your emotions while interacting with your coworkers, supervisors, and even the public. Now, this carrier or plan lack of understanding will often result in a claim denial or termination. Let's talk specifically about what they don't understand about the symptoms of executive dysfunction. Now, they hate these claims, as I've alluded to before, because they think that they are subjective in nature. They think that anybody can have these kinds of problems, and they think it's easy to fake these types of symptoms in an effort to get your disability benefits. In other words, you're lazy and you don't want to work. Now, there are some tools that they will try to use in your policy to deny or limit claims, one of which is a psychiatric mental nervous limitation policy provision that will limit the payment of benefits to just 2 years, or there's a subjective medical condition limitation that will limit benefits to just 2 years. And they'll specifically say if you've got memory problems, problems with concentration, just 2 years. I know that it's hard to quantify the nature of your symptoms and how those symptoms impact your ability to perform your own or other work. Now, we need to think about what executive functioning is, because we want to think backwards. Executive functioning allows you to analyze a task. It allows you to plan how to address that task, to organize the steps that are needed to carry out each of the tasks, to develop timelines for the completion of each task and the project, to make changes if needed in the steps or tasks to complete this duty, and to complete it in a timely way. The disability carrier is going to expect to see in your medical records symptoms of these difficulties, a report of problems in planning, problems updating steps and actions that will meet short and long-term goals, problems analyzing and processing information, problems organizing material into a coherent presentation or into a coherent document, problems controlling your emotions or impulses in the work setting. So, for example, executive functioning allows a lawyer, such as myself, to listen to my client's story, review the disability policy, review the correspondence, review the applicable law, formulate a strategy for writing an appeal, organizing, scheduling, and doing the task related to writing the appeal, timely submitting the appeal. Now, executive dysfunction can disrupt the ability to do any of these tasks, making it impossible or difficult for an attorney to practice law, practice ERISA disability law. And you wouldn't want to be represented by a lawyer who has executive dysfunction, would you? So let's talk about how we go about submitting a winning appeal in these types of claims. Obviously, your medical records are key. We want to see those kinds of problems documented in your medical records. You have to take the time to give your doctor an accurate history of your symptoms. And in fact, you might want to give them a interval history of the problems that you're having with examples and keep a copy of that ultimately. Additionally, you would like to have available a statement from a coworker, your employer, or something from your personnel file attesting to these problems so that it's been observed by a third party that's not related to you. You also want to have appropriate testing. There is different kinds of psychiatric testing, physical testing that can document the basis for these types of memory problems. Might be a brain scan, a CT scan, might be different kinds of cognitive testing, including neurocognitive testing. But ultimately, you want to be establishing that there is an objective basis for these memory issues. You also need to tie it backwards to the things that we've talked about. As a lawyer, if I'm filing a disability claim, I want to tie my problems back to inability to do those types of tasks that make it impossible for me to do the material and substantial duties of my occupation. That will require, in my view, the opinion of a vocational rehabilitation counselor who can look at what the cognitive functions are of an attorney and say, okay, well, here they are. I've looked at the medical records. Here's the objective testing that establishes that they're having these types of memory problems. And based on these test results, based on the symptoms in the medical records and what I'm hearing from the client and what I know of the occupational duties, this is why they can't do these executive functioning duties. They're having a particular problem doing this or that. And that means, from a vocational standpoint, they can't do the material and substantial duties of their own occupation or any occupation, depending on where you're at with the standard of disability. If your claim for disability benefits as a result of cognitive memory issues, executive dysfunction issues, is being slow-walked, is being denied or terminated, you need to contact me at 727-894-3188 for a complimentary consultation. If your claim has been denied or terminated, you'll only have 180 days in which to file an appeal if this is an ERISA case. That appeal is the trial of the case, which means we've got to develop all the medical, vocational evidence that establishes why it is you have these problems, why it is you can't do the material and substantial duties of your occupation, and why you qualify for your benefits. Call me. I can help you regardless of the nature of your medical problems, the cause of your memory issues or executive functioning issues, and regardless where you live and regardless of who your disability carrier is. I'm here to help you get your disability benefits.